Incredibly excited, as you can see, to have with me the wonderful Fergus Hay, who is the godfather of hacking, but not in the literal godfather sense. Welcome to Crime Related Live with the Legends, and officially tonight we declare Fergus to be a legend in the area. Fergus is one of the preeminent experts, and I say that with complete conviction and authority, one of the world authorities on this new phenomenon of hacking. And he has worked with both law enforcement, regulatory bodies, government, politicians. He's across every aspect of it, and it's going to be a fantastic talk. So, Fergus, welcome to Crime Related on TikTok, which I know is your favorite medium on social media, and some other platforms. Welcome to Crime Related, and welcome to our Live with the Legends, and congratulations, you are now officially a TikTok legend.
Well, David, it's awesome. I'm so excited to do this with you. I absolutely love this premise, and obviously we're friends, so it's a total pleasure to hang out together. What I would say is I really have no credibility as an authority on hacking. You know, my credibility is that I just saw it happening, and I saw people being hurt, and I saw kids being groomed, and it just got me by the soul that, like, the world needs to wake up.
You're very humble, and I'm going to tell people that you actually are an expert. He's being very humble, everyone. But let's jump into it. Tell me about the beginning. How did you get into this? Because it's an extremely rarefied part of the whole cyber security world. Not many people know about it. They only hear about it when there's a headline. How'd you get involved? Tell us that.
Yeah, look, honestly, it was serendipity, and ultimately driven by paranoia. So, yeah, really seriously. So really good. Like, isn't that what humanity is driven by? Is ultimately fear. You know, right at the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So, a friend of mine, Dan Deer, who's now my co-founder, he's been in cyber for 25 years, and he's got a network of the most extraordinary, badass hackers you could possibly imagine. And he said, "Hey, do you want to come and meet some hackers?" And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, why, you know, what are you doing this afternoon? Why not? I'll come meet some hackers. And we went into a room in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam. And we sat down, and we had a bunch of hackers on the phone, and we had a bunch of hackers in the room. And we spent 3 hours just chewing the fat and hanging out. And my journey was, I think this is going to be weird. And then it was like, oh, these guys are really interesting. And then I got panicked and shocked. And they opened the door to a world where I felt like I didn't know anything. And I didn't realize how vulnerable I was. And then I didn't realize how vulnerable kids were. And then it all became like this whole dystopian world of, like, our kids being groomed off gaming platforms by cyber criminal gangs and being put to work. And at the end of those 3 hours, I walked out honestly aghast, like shocked and scared. And that afternoon, I got on a flight from Amsterdam to Zurich. It's actually one of the most beautiful flights you can do, because you go over the steepest part of the Alps. So everyone has their noses to the window, and they're like looking through the window at the Alps, and it's like, oh, Toblerone, but in 5D, and one person. And that was me on the other side of the plane, just like writing on my laptop with this paranoia and fear about, oh my God, the world's screwed, the kids are being groomed, everyone's going to get hacked, we've got to do something about it. And I landed after that short flight, and I called Dan, and I said, nothing is more important than us working out how to protect young people from becoming cyber criminals and give them an off-ramp so they can make the world safer. That's where it started, 18 months, 2 years ago, maybe now. And it's been a wild ride since.
So you think that moment on the plane was the pivotal moment when you thought, I really want to get into this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was epiphanic. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it. But as ever, there's context to these things. There's a wonderful guy called Mark Loftus. He's an amazing psychologist, and he works with us. And he gave me this metaphor in life, which is about a gyre. And a gyre are the thermals that a bird of prey rides when it goes hunting. So when it takes off, the thermal is low and narrow. So the first thing the bird sees is like a fat rat. But the higher and wider it goes, the better, most juicy things it sees to go hunting. So after the fat rat sees a baby rabbit, but it keeps going higher and wider, and then it sees a fox, then it sees a bear. It keeps going higher and wider until it sees what it wants, which might be the stag. And then it swoops down and it picks the stag up and eats the stag. And the metaphor in life is be curious. Go and look for things. Keep your eyes open. Don't rush into anything. And then you're going to find something where you can make a definitive positive impact on. And that was, for me, the day in the room in the Hackers, and then on a plane to Zurich.
So hacking today, how do you define it? Is it a group of juvenile delinquents sitting in basements, the guys that you think are never going to move out of home and are just sitting on the computer? Is it government? Is it sovereign hacking, or is it a combination of all things?
It's kind of all of that and none of that. So there's an amazing guy called Jeff Mann, and Jeff founded the Hackers at the CIA. And I was chatting to Jeff the other day. We were doing a podcast together, and I said, well, you're like one of the most accomplished hackers in the world. It must be really technical. You must be really amazing at computers. And he said, no, man, not at all. It's got nothing to do with computers. Hacking is problem solving. Hacking is puzzle solving. And in fact, when he was a kid, he would play with wooden puzzles. And that's what it is. Hacking is a mindset. Hacking is the basis of human creativity and innovation. It's looking at structures, identifying where the weaknesses are, breaking them down, and seeing what you can do to improve it and optimize it. The computer is just an enabler, but really it's that human mindset. And if you really take that mindset, you go, well, without hacking, we'd still be riding horses to work. Or we'd still be reading by candlelight or heating ourselves by coal. It is the basis of human creativity and innovation. And I think what really frustrates me, and I think it's almost reckless, is that the only image of a hacker in the world is the hoodie up, no face, the matrix in the background, tapping away at a keyboard, right? That is the only image of a hacker. And that is true of a cyber criminal. That is true. That is what that embodiment looks like. But where's the heroic image? Right? What about the hackers who have used their creativity and innovation and access to technology to make things amazing? You know who the first kind of known technology ethical hacker was? Tim Berners-Lee, the guy who created the World Wide Web, right? He's an ethical hacker. Steve Jobs got the seed capital for Apple by being paid by companies to hack their phone lines. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, right? Bill Gates got banned from using computers and phones by the local judiciary when he was 12 years old for 1 year, because he was stealing phone compute down the phone. But these are people, these are hackers who use their creativity and technology skills to create amazing things, employ thousands of people, create GDP, pay taxes, create the world that we live in today. So I think, to answer your question, hacking is a creative, human, innovative mindset that solves puzzles, solves problems, identifies vulnerabilities, and makes things better.
So if the bad side, the dark side of hacking, I think I coined the phrase, it's the new frontier of white-collar crime. What's the flip side? You used the term ethical hacking. Tell us about that. That's fascinating.
Yeah, well, look, it's the good guys and the bad guys, right? When I grew up, it was like, who are heroic figures? Superman, Batman, She-Ra, Wonder Woman. And we knew what good looked like. We knew what bad looked like. And that was, the good vanquished the bad. It was the oldest stories in the world. In this world, we only have the bad guys in this hacking world. But the good guys are innovating. The good guys they split them into two groups, the blue teams and the red teams. The blue teams are people who want to protect things. So in the same way that you get a locksmith to come to your house and put the locks in and put the burglar alarm in, these guys are guys who think about how to protect your infrastructures and systems. And that could be the obvious, like your laptop, or your data, your personal data, but it could also be the less obvious, the oil and gas systems, the telecommunications. That's what we call critical infrastructure, right? So you got the blue team guys who are defending it, building protecting everything. And then you got the red team guys. These are the guys who are trying to attack it. They try to find the weaknesses. You actually want them to attack you. You pay them to attack you so that you can see where your weaknesses are. A bit like you might hire a safe cracker to try to crack your safe to see if it's vulnerable or not. So those two different mindsets, they tend to not be the same person. People talk about this purple teaming. That can happen. But you basically have badass red teamers and then responsible blue teamers.
No, I get it. Who are the most vulnerable today, or what entities are the most vulnerable to hacking?
You know, David, there was a hack earlier this year, last year, I think it was Ticketmaster, 550 million pieces of data released, individual data, 550 million. Irrelevant, because it takes the total number up now of released individual records in the world to something like 22.5 billion. There's only 7 billion people on the planet. What that means is we're all vulnerable. Like, your data is already available. And in fact, in my first experience, when I was learning about this, one of our hackers, who's ex Swedish special forces, took me underground. He took me onto the dark web, and within about 7 minutes, he had bought enough information on me to be able to create a bank account in my name and take a loan out. My passport, my social security number in America, my address, my tax returns, pictures of me online, $5, $5, $5, $5, $5, and he had the whole profile. So we're all vulnerable. The vulnerability is full exposure. The question is, can you make sure that you're lower down the priority list? Because, you know, the hackers, they're not going for the hard targets, they're going for the easy targets. And and you can reduce your exposure, right? Multi-factor authentication. You know, if you go and ask 10 people in a room who's put MFA on their WhatsApp or on their Gmail, 90% have not done that. If you just put MFA on, you're already reducing your exposure by like 90%. Get a password manager. It's so basic. Don't have passwords like the name of your dog and your birthday. Just get a password manager. Google has got one. They'll give you an incredibly long, indecipherable passwords for every platform, which are automatically synced. Doing that will reduce your exposure by 90%. So to answer your question, everyone's exposed. We're all vulnerable. That's already done. That story is gone. That horse is bolted. It's just, what can you do to kind of protect yourself?
What about sovereign hacking? Governments going onto the dark web, or entities sponsored by government going onto the dark web and moving into almost the area of espionage. I mean, it's very James Bondish, but it's happening all the time.
It's pioneering. I mean, you know, what we're fortunate enough to work with the Ministry of Defense here in the UK, and they will tell you that they're at war. They're at war. The war isn't like, might it spread across Europe on the ground. They're already in a cyber war. Critical infrastructure is being attacked every single day by state actors, and the most vehement or proponents of it: Iran, Russia, North Korea, China. But everyone's at it. You know, I'm sure that every Western nation cyber teams are trying to put the countries they're nervous about on the back foot, and it makes sense. I mean, that's, you would have seen it recently in the Israel, Iran, US triangle, that the biggest concern is the cyber responses from Iran, right? You know, of course, the rockets are dangerous, and people are concerned about that. But, you know, the cyber attacks are real, and pick up the media every day. Electrical power outages in Portugal, the Heathrow Airport's electrical generators going down. You know, I mean, these are all puzzlingly sudden occurrences, right?
So, question that I never got to ask you at one of your lectures, which I've attended. They're fantastic. With this wave of probing and these cyber attacks relentlessly occurring day in, day out, are we winning the war or are we losing the war? Is government putting up defenses which can counter, or is it purely reactive and defensive?
I mean, it doesn't feel like we're winning, right? I mean, let's look at the data points. So the cost of cybercrime globally today, this year, is circa $11 trillion.
Wow.
11 trillion, and it'll be this year. The forecasted cost in 2027 is 23.8 trillion. So that is the GDP of the US. That is twice the cost of COVID globally, according to the IMF. If that was a country, it'd be the third largest economy in the world.
Yeah.
Well, you've got is a compound annual growth rate. You've got 11 trillion this year, 23.8 trillion in 2 years' time. That tells me we're not winning. That tells me we're getting less safe every day. But then it compounds. Then you sit there and go, okay, well, like, what other data points are there? There are 5.5 million people working in cyber globally.
Yeah.
There are 4.8 million unfilled jobs. 4.8 million. If you applied the same growth rate that's happening to the cost of cybercrime to the job market, that will be about 12 million unfilled jobs by 2027. So that feels like the world is getting significantly less safe. It feels like we are not winning.
My impression also is that law enforcement is just being outgunned in terms of the expertise and the ability of their people to understand and to sit down and fight fire with fire. I mean, they're not trained. They haven't got the expertise. They haven't got the sophistication. Is that too cruel or?
Well, David, let's play it out. I mean, look at your passion, your personal passions, right? Crime and mafia. How hard is it to plan a bank robbery? Right? It takes ages. And then you got to find people. And then you've got to like get the crazy driver. And then you got to put on ski masks. And then you got to get to the bank and you got to knock through the door. And it's really hard. The barrier to entry on robbing a bank looks really hard. And you might get shot and people are going to see your face. And then you got to do a heat style running gun battle for 17 minutes through the downtown. Like that is the barrier to entry. And you got to be brave. You got to be brave, right? And you got to be there. You've actually got to be there. With the cybercrime, do it from your bedroom. You don't have to be brave. You're not going to get shot. You don't need to plan it for 5 months. You don't need to find a plane to Cuba so you can get your bags of cash away. Like it is like a low barrier to entry. And I think that's why it's so difficult to police. And, we work really closely with the FBI and Interpol and Europol and the National Crime Agency. They're amazing, by the way. Like their level of understanding is elite. Their forensic analysis is amazing. But in the words of Will McKean, who's one of our advisors, a former FBI agent, they cannot arrest their way out of this problem. The challenge here is not arrest as many cyber criminals as possible. The challenge here is stop them becoming cyber criminals. And let me tell you what I learned. And this is why I got so scared.
Yeah.
We think the cyber bad guys are the state actors and organized cyber gangs out of Eastern Europe, South America, South Asia, Africa. That's what we think, right? Those are the bad dudes. The vast majority of the people doing the hacking are children. So Europol published some data with Professor Juliet Davidson from the University of East London. They interviewed 14,000 teenagers across Europe and the UK. 69% have committed a cybercrime or a gross cyber misdemeanor. 69%.
It's a massive number.
It's unbelievable. What that tells you is it's no longer niche, but it's mass, right? Then you play it out a little bit. The National Crime Agency will tell you that the average age of someone arrested for serious crime is 34 years old. The average age of someone arrested for a cybercrime is 19 years old. The most active cyber gang in the world right now is called Scattered Spider. It's part of the con, and we can go into that in more detail. The average age of a Scattered Spider hacker, these are the guys who've taken down Marks and Spencer's, Co-op, Harrods, MGM, the casinos. These are the most active gang. The average age the police think is 17 years old.
So tell me about the grooming, because obviously these kids, they're sitting there, they're probably incredibly passionate gamers. How are they groomed? How do the bad guys get in touch with them? What's the process?
So it goes back to what we started with, actually. So the overlay between a hacking and gaming is 100%. Every hacker is a gamer, because gaming is puzzle solving. In the old days, you do chess, you do Rubik's cubes, but now it's on gaming platforms, which are 24/7, right? So 93% of Gen Z game. On average per day, they spend 30 minutes on Instagram, 80 minutes on TikTok, 114 minutes on gaming. This is their world. And it's a live laboratory for hacking mindsets. Because you play the game, you're learning loads of skills, by the way, anything from Call of Duty to League of Legends to Stanley Parable. These are all amazing games that test your puzzle-solving mindsets. They put you under pressure. They teach you social engineering, behavioral expectations. But then they start developing modifications. A modification is when you write your own code to screw up the game and give you an unfair advantage. So an example, David, would be you and I'd be playing Call of Duty online, and I'm trying to shoot you, and to shoot you, I need to aim it manually and shoot you in the head. I wouldn't do it to you, David, because you're a great friend and dear chap.
Thank you very much, Fergus. And we don't like that on Crime Related.
No. But you would, however, shoot me. So what happens is I try to shoot you, and I'd do it manually, and I might miss or I might hit. But David's a clever bugger. What he's done is he has developed a modification called an aimbot, which enables his gun to automatically find my head and shoot, so he doesn't have to do it manually. So that means David wins, which means David gets more XP points. David goes to the top of the leaderboard table. David can qualify to be a professional gamer. David can start making money because he's winning. An aimbot is what we call a memory injection. That is a cyber hacking skill set. And it's the same. People dox each other. If we're playing online, you're going to try to hit my internet connectivity so it lags. That way, I'm a second behind you in the game, which means you can shoot me easier. That is the same as DDoSing. DDoSing is when you basically overload a server so the website doesn't work, so a business is offline, and that's what people charge ransom money for from the cyber gangs. So the point is, the gaming provides all of these indications of aptitude and potential as a hacker. But you know what's not happening? The governments aren't watching it. Like the big technology companies aren't watching it and saying, oh, David's got amazing skills. Maybe he could come and be a cybersecurity blue teamer. The only people who are watching it are the bad guys. The cyber gangs are watching it. They're watching kids on Roblox and Minecraft and Fortnite and Call of Duty and GDA and League of Legends. They're watching the kids. And when they see a kid repeatedly use modifications, repeatedly cheat, they go, that's a talented kid. And they go, hey, David, you want to earn some crypto? And David goes, I would like some crypto. They go, well, come on over to the Discord, come into this squad. We'll give you the tools. We'll train you. We'll put you in a group of people, and you're going to go to work and you're going to make money. And that's the grooming. It's like a Darwinian Fagin type character on steroids, because they don't have to do it on the streets. They don't have to find a kid at a playground. It's just on the gaming platforms.
Can they be traced, these people? I guess everybody leaves a footprint, but
that's what the FBI tell us, which is, the great irony in all of this is you can find them. And actually the operational security, OPSEC it's called, of the hackers is pretty appalling. They do some wildly exposing things to leave their trail. So yeah, they can be caught, but the volumes, David, the volumes are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so what we got to do is not, yes, we got to catch these guys and critical intervention, but got to prevent the kids from falling into it. When you and I were kids, we were taught stranger danger, right? Don't get in the car with the middle-aged white guy with the puppies or the sweets. Don't do that, right? Don't go to the playground and speak to the drug dealer on the corner. Just don't do that. But we're not giving that counsel to this generation. The equivalent of that street corner is upstairs in your bedroom, where you think little Johnny is just playing computer games and talking to his friends. Little Johnny's head is in the lion's jaws. And what we've got to do is help the kids understand stranger danger, understand the flags, understand that actually, if you're being asked to go and join a Discord group and you're given tools and asked to go and attack a bit of code and someone's offering you Bitcoin, that is bad.
There are a couple of examples I think of with kids that have been ultimately caught, and they've had incredible amount of money transferred across to them. I think you gave an example of one youngster who was caught. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I mean, God, there's so many examples of this. It's kind of remarkable, really, about what these people can achieve. So there's a kid in our community. I won't give his name, but when he was 12 years old, he found an exploit on Roblox, and he basically hacked Roblox, got hold of some tokens that hadn't been released, and he sold them on the secondary market. In a singular day, at 12 years old, he made $35,000. He then put it into Bitcoin, And about 18 months later, it was worth about $350,000. And his parents only found out because he asked them, at what age should I start paying tax? So he's now working with us. So he chose the right path. There's another one of our kids who at 12 years old, during COVID, the school wouldn't let them use Teams, right? And so all the kids were going crazy. Like, I've got to talk to someone. So this 12-year-old decided to hack Microsoft, the world's most secure company. And he hacked Microsoft, and he opened up Teams, and he got all his friends on Teams. And they had that for 2.5 weeks until they were shut down by the FBI. And the FBI took the case to Microsoft and said, what do you want to do? You want to prosecute? And to Microsoft's great credit, they said, no, we want to hire him. And last year, that kid, now 15, won Bug Bounty of the Year at Vegas at the massive hacking festival. And there is a big amount of prize money that goes with that. When I say life-changing amount of money. So these are like the little examples. But then the scale goes up significantly. So we met a kid based out of Oxford. Mum is a lawyer, dad is a teacher, nice middle-class family. He's a bright kid, neurodivergent, but bright, neurodivergent and bright. And he would come home and go up to his room and play on his computer. And mum and dad were very worried that little Johnny was playing too much Fortnite and just shooting people. And that's not what our kids should be doing. But little Johnny was not playing Fortnite. Little Johnny had a personal bank account with about $14 million in it.
Jeez.
$14 million. And what happened was Johnny started gaming. Then he started modding and cheating. And then he started developing code. And then he got groomed. And then he got taught how to hack. And then he started DDoSing companies and charging ransom. And then he was making a lot of money. And then he realized he could create a pyramid system and get other kids to do it. And he could be the top of the pyramid. Johnny was a full-blown mega gangster. And he was 14 and neurodiverse. And do you know what he did with all that money? Nothing. Didn't spend any of it. It was like gaming points to him. It wasn't even real to him. So that's that happens. There's an 8-year-old we've met had $4 million in their bank account.
8 years old.
I've not met him actually. There's one of our advisory board members has met him with $4 million in the bank account. So that's getting pretty real.
Can I adopt any of these kids?
Yeah, well, exactly. I'm so happy that my son is doing so well these days. But then there's like less. It's pretty scary. It gets pretty dark. So
Yeah.
there are three examples I can give you. So there's a guy called Gary McKinnon. He was I think he was 16 years old, out of Wolverhampton or Liverpool in the UK. And he started gaming, neurodivergent, started gaming, fell into the wrong crowd online, and ultimately ended up committing the largest hack in US military history at 17.
Wow.
And then it gets more scary. There's another kid called Junaid Hussain, who's also from the UK, also a gamer, also neurodivergent. Also fell into the wrong crowd, and he started. The ages might be slightly wrong, but let's say at 11 he was modding. By 12 he had been fallen into the wrong crowd. By 13 to 14 he'd been properly weaponized. Was making money, doing criminal stuff. By 15 and 16 he fell into ISIS online. I think by 17 he had moved to Syria, and he then became the head of misinformation and disinformation and social media for ISIS. And by 21, he was taken out by a US drone strike just for him. Now, that's where the stories get really real. And, well, it all gets real, but that's obviously tragic. What's really tragic is a bunch of my hackers know him. And they said he was a sweet, kind boy. He was vulnerable. He was manipulated. He was the kind of kid where you said, hey, Junaid, come this way, and he would come. He was neurodivergent, autistic. And this is a kid, and I can't validate that because I never met him, but it's a common consensus, common consensus. Now, the counterpoint to that is there's a Finnish kid who's very famous in the media who hacked a psychotherapy platform in Finland. You may have heard about this. And he basically held them to ransom, $500,000, not even that much. So if you don't give me $500,000, I'm going to leak all of these audio recordings of people's darkest secrets onto the internet. And the guy didn't pay, so he leaked them all. Actually, it was an accident. He meant to leak like 50, but he leaked all of them. Now, this guy's gone to jail. 2 suicides came out of that leaking because the most dark secrets people imagine. Now, this kid, he's in jail. This guy, the hacking community said he was a psychopath. We could tell from his activities on the forums. We could tell about how he spoke, how he behaved, what he did. He was a psychopath. But Junaid was not. He was a vulnerable, autistic kid, manipulated, highly talented. So yeah, it gets grave fast. But I'll end those anecdotes on one to remember. There's a group of hackers, I believe it was in Oxford, and when the Ukraine-Russia conflict, when Russia invaded Ukraine, they decided they wanted to be activists. And now a lot of hackers were bullied as kids because they didn't fit. So they're quite vengeful. They want to take down the bad guys. They don't like people who are bullies. And so when they saw the Wagner group invade Ukraine on behalf of the Russians, they decided to get involved. So they hacked the Wagner weapons ordering systems. And they found cases of hundreds of shoulder-based rockets that had been ordered that were going to be delivered to the front line. So they changed the order. And when the boxes arrived on the front line and the Russians were in the freezing cold winter and the freezing cold, and they opened up the boxes expecting to find rockets, they didn't find rockets. What they found were 100 pink dildos. Which maybe that was more useful to the guys on the front line in the winter. Maybe that's what they needed. I don't know. But at least it wasn't a weapon of mass destruction.
Wow. That is extraordinary. Tell me about the hacking games? I mean, where do you see it going in terms of an enterprise? It sounds like you've got a lot of different areas that you're pursuing, television, corporate, regulatory, work with government. Tell us all about that.
Yeah, look, our vision is to create a generation of ethical hackers to make the world safer. For all the reasons that we talked about, this generation is an ethical fork in the road. They're not naturally criminally minded. We read some reports we saw from our law enforcement partners that the repeat offender rate for someone who's in jail for serious crime is 70%. The repeat offender rate for someone who's in jail for cybercrime is 20%. So they're not natural criminally minded. They're just falling down the wrong path. And we think this generation are either going to be a liability or an asset. And if you can offer them the right pathway, if you can get to them and say, hey, look, this is what heroic looks like. This is what an ethical hacker hero looks like. Here are ethical hackers that you can aspire to and respect and see yourself in them. And by the way, you can make a ton of money. You can have a great career. You can get paid for doing the stuff that you love. We think that we can direct them away from the dark side into the light side. And if we do that, then we think we can create a generation of ethical hackers to make the world safer. So when we spoke to the industry, we said, look, guys, what's the problem here? Like, there's 4.8 million unfilled jobs. So we spoke to 100 CISOs, CEOs, government officials. And the feedback was this: we are under attack every day from creative, unconventional, antagonistic criminals. But the talent we get in the industry, although bright, is quite conservative. They went to university. They've done 2 years of work experience as a security analyst. They've done government compliance certificates. They're bright, but they are firmly thinking inside the box. And it was described to us as an asymmetric war. They cannot compete with the bad guys, which means we're losing. And what they want is this unconventional talent. They want this Generation Z, age 12 to 27, growing up on the gaming platforms, refining their skills by playing games and hacking games and modding. They want this generation because they think differently. They're built differently. But they don't know how to identify them, and they don't know how to evaluate them. So we're building Hapti, the hacking aptitude AI platform, that enables us to build a picture of the aptitude of an 18-year-old David, right? Not based on LinkedIn, because guess what? He's not on it. Not based on his resume, because he definitely doesn't have one. If he did have one, it's written by ChatGPT and probably read by ChatGPT. So that's two ghosts talking to each other. But based on his performance in gaming, based on his performance across all the games that he plays, based on his modifications, and then based on a psychometric model evaluating his character and personality and his levels of neurodivergence. So that Hapti profile builds you an image, a picture of their aptitude, which enables the employers like the government, like the big technologies, like the gaming studios, like the AI employers to go, oh my God, David, who is off the grid, right? David is not on my radar, but now I have a picture of his aptitude and I can see what potential this guy's got and what an amazing talent he can be. And I'm going to give him a job. And then for David, what he's getting is someone who sees him, someone who understands his prowess that he's building through gaming and his abilities, someone who understands his levels of neurodivergence and goes, David, it's not that you're different, it's that you're brilliant. And here is a pathway for you to use your skills to make the world safer, have a great career, make a load of money, have a great time, and get what you want, which is fame, respect, competitive celebration, and cash. This is what motivates these guys. So our platform enables them to do that. But then the question is, how do you get them? How do you get these Gen Z hackers? And I tell you what they're not listening to. They're not listening to mom and dad. They're not listening to the schools. They're not going to listen to law enforcement. They're not listening to advertising. You have to speak to them in the language that they understand. Popular culture, content, media, communities, influencers.
They're watching crime related on TikTok.
They are watching TikTok shows of two white middle-aged dudes talking about crime in a special format. But you are right, David. Look, that's why you've got this great show, right? Because you've understood the format. You know that people love crime, and you know that people love TikTok, and you're creating new content for that, right?
True crime and the true crime genre is a massive, massive industry. One last question before we sort of get to the wrap up, because the time has just flown. This has been fantastic. You were kind enough to invite me and my beautiful Natasha to a wonderful, wonderful evening. It seems like only yesterday when you were talking about artificial intelligence and the impact of this revolution upon society. And I thought it was one of the most insightful evenings I have ever been to. It blew my mind, to use the vernacular. How do you see AI in the world of hacking? Is it the future lubricant? Is it just a tool that could be used both for positive and for negative? What's your take on that?
I mean, I think everyone's just got to get with the program. Like, this thing's happened. Like, and you know, the big debate of AI, like that ship has sailed. If you're not using it, you're losing. Like, and so the world has got to move on that topic. Your question is a really, really good one, which is like, okay, well, how? Like, and in what way? So let me tell you, the bad guys are using it faster and better than the good guys. The good guys are still writing regulation and having like meetings every month about what they're going to do about AI. The bad guys have just used it. So that's why the speed. So the world has got to wake up and get on it. This is how I think about AI. Everyone is using AI to automate execution. What can I make faster and quickly without people and to execute something? It's understandable. The problem is, if you automate mediocrity, you get mass mediocrity.
Yes.
But if you automate brilliance, you get brilliant outcomes. The primacy is going to go on the unconventional minds who can solve problems, see opportunities, create concepts, create visions. And then they have this mega horsepower of automation, of AI to make it happen.
Yeah.
Which means that for the first time in human history, the neurodivergence, the unconventional minds have limitless access to technology to make their brilliant thoughts scale and happen and manifest fast. And when that happens in life, you get Edison and electricity.
Yes.
You get Apple. You get, God rest his soul, SpaceX and Tesla. That's assuming he's not a demonic genius. I don't know, but he's neurodivergent and he's made incredible things and some weird things, but some incredible things.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This is their era. I could not be more excited for the neurodivergent young generation who have developed their brains in the gaming world, because now they're going to have AI to execute and scale their ideas. I think it's going to create more human creativity than we can ever dream of. I think it's going to demand a huge revolution in on how we educate. I think the education system right now is pointless, honestly. Like, we're not teaching these kids how to creatively conceive in order to and automate. So the change is coming. Like, that's already happening. The question is, what are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? What does it mean for the creative industry? I'll give you an example. In the old days, we'd go and shoot a pilot for our TV shows, right? We're not doing that now. We're using Google Veo to do a 2-minute AI pilot of it. Takes 5 days.
And 1% of the cost.
Right.
I'm there. I understand exactly what you're talking about. Yes. Do you think that if people like you and your organization could get the support that you need, both government and private, that there is a chance through education and through exposure that we could get to a generation of moral or ethical hackers that we can bring back to understand that society is just not going to work if 90% of wealth is stolen and hacked, or programs are destroyed, or privacy is devastated. Do you think there's a chance that we can pull it back?
A total conviction. I have total conviction in that, because humankind, it's in it. Humankind. The base level, when you meet people in the streets, in the communities, people like to be together. People like the community. People like investing in each other to make a better environment. Of course, we see horrific things in the media right now. We see wars that we can't imagine. The world feels like it's a tinderbox. And if you read the media and you live through the media, you will genuinely think this is the worst apocalyptic period in history. But then walk to your local pub, right? Go into the office and sit with your colleagues. Go to your local shop and go and buy some bread and milk on the Saturday morning. Those human engagements, they're real. The communities are real. And actually, that's where we've got to have a bit of faith in humankind, the kindness in humans. What we've learned is the vast majority of this generation are not criminally minded. They're just messing about. In the same way that you and I, when we were 16, probably did some stupid things, involving a can of beer or a bottle of cider, or, smashing a window or nicking something from a shop. Does that make us demonic? No, we're kids exploring. In fact, what it really encourages me is Mark Loftus, our psychologist, told us that the frontal cortex in a teen boy doesn't develop until right at the end of their teens. The frontal cortex is judging consequence, which is why you can have an A-star student at 16 years old studying physics, chemistry, and math, but then he'll get on his BMX bike, drive downhill, and put the front brake on to see what happens. Right? We all know what happens, you moron. That's why people get so frustrated with their teenage boys, but the frontal cortex isn't developed yet. They're not thinking of consequence yet. And so that's what's happening with these kids. They're just exploring. So I have conviction in the kindness of humanity, and I have conviction in this generation, and we are seeing positive impact every day. But it takes a village. So it takes government, and it takes corporates, and it takes the media and entertainment industry. It takes politicians. It takes celebrities. It takes parents to say, let's positively impact this generation. They are going to make a really great impact on the world if we can inspire them and equip them.
We've got to get government to get with the program. We've got to get education systems to get with the program, because the problem is the dinosaurs are so fundamentally ignorant. You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the big problems. So we've got to
What's happening? We're seeing shifting though, David. Things are shifting. So
people like you are making it happen.
I mean, look, from the private sector, we can do what we can. But, Keir Starmer, our prime minister, he made an announcement 2 weeks ago launching Tech First, which is a big education program in the UK. I think he's put £185 million into, over a 4-year period, into education programs at schools on AI, cyber, and data engineering. He's changing the curriculum. I believe the White House have done the same thing. I saw a headline, but I'm not equipped to learn about that enough. There are Abu Dhabi and Dubai. They are way ahead of this. They're building school curriculums that are enabled. So you're seeing it happen. You're seeing it change. It'll take a generation or two. But you know what you can do? You can, as a parent, you can do it with your kids. Play games with your kids. Get on Roblox with your kids. See what they see. Do modding together. Learn modding together. Learn AI together. You know what I do with my daughter? We go for coffee. She's 9. She's amazing. Oh, absolutely amazing. And we take photos of ourselves. And then we run it through ChatGPT and we say, make this a Picasso, make this a Dali, make this a Rembrandt, make this a Van Gogh. She chooses the artists. She loves it because she's seeing she's learning the styles of these artists and she's making it personal to her. You don't need to be a tech guy to do that. I'm not a tech guy. Yeah. I just download ChatGPT and I sit with my daughter, and when she has a hot chocolate and I have a coffee and we do it. You know, I mean, it's fun and it's a shared moment. You can do that with your kids.
Fantastic. Do you lie in bed in the middle of the night?
Never.
In a cold sweat, thinking what's going to be the next hacking theme or trend, or do you think that you know that you know the direction that we should be heading, and it's just a question of reaching the destination?
I think, David, that there are 3 concentric circles in life, which is what can you control, what can you influence, and what can you neither control nor influence. If I angst about the next hack, I think my life would be over. There are hacks every minute. That is just base state. I think I angst about my kids. I angst about them making good decisions. I angst about who they talk to online. Really angst about that. That's why I'm in it with them. I'm not blocking them, but I'm in it with them. I want to know. I play with them. I see what they see. So I angst about that. I angst about, and you'll know this, the anxiety generation. It's a brilliant book written by Professor Hoydet, I think. I probably got that wrong, out of Stern NYU, which talks about the impact on the kids' brains of social media and how it's creating an anxious generation. I angst about that. I angst about that. I think the cognitive development of this young generation really looks like it's being screwed up by